Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this virtual live session on tackling offers decline in the landscape of virtual hiring. I am Anushree Sharma, Senior Manager, Research and Content Strategist at People Matters, and I will be your host for the day. So, hiring in today's reality of new normal is virtual. While remote recruiting definitely has its advantage in terms of efficiency, in time and money, the overall candidate experience seems to take a toll. This lack of human touch, along with the pandemic induced demand for tech skill, is causing the high offer declines in the industry, which we are seeing today. So, the drop rates are averaging between 35% to 60%. And moreover, there is a great dearth of recruiter talent to compensate for the increase in hiring. Continuing with our endeavor to provide actionable thoughts to our community, People Matters in partnership with Hyreo presents this session where we will be taking leaders on tackling the offer declines in the landscape of virtual hiring. So, a quick housekeeping before we start today's session. If you have any question during the session, please feel free to use the chat window. We'll bring them up towards the end of the session during the 15 minutes that we have reserved for the Q&A. So stay tuned to your chat box and keep posting the questions you have for our speakers. And within the session, to make the overall conversation more interactive, we will be posting some of the poll questions that we expect you to participate in. So again, stay tuned to your chat window. We will share all the details for participating on those poll questions. So now coming to the moderator for today's session, joining with us today is Prasanna Nayar from Hyreo. Passionate about the role of technology in furthering talent transformation, Prasanna brings over 25 years of experience in consulting, design, and implementing a global talent transformation practice. A strong believer of skills being the new business currency, Prasanna is currently the evangelizer in chief for Hyreo. Hi, Prasanna. This screen is all yours. Welcome to the session.
Hi, Anu. Thanks so much. And welcome, everyone. I'm Prasanna Nayar, and I will be moderating the session today. And as Anu mentioned, the topic is tackling offer declines in the landscape of virtual hiring. I'm sure that you will agree with me when I say that the last 2 years have been really tough on talent acquisition professionals. Now, the pandemic and all the aligned shifts have fundamentally changed the way we think about and approach recruitment specific job roles. Uh, I'd like to kind of take you through a quick set of slides that will set the context for us. So, Anu, can you please share the slides? Yeah, the next slide, please, Anu. And this particular data point is aligned to what I was saying earlier about a total revisit of the approach to recruitment, specific job roles, and the entire recruitment space. Now, this is data from a recent LinkedIn survey of talent acquisition practitioners from across the globe, and here what they have very clearly outlined is that they consider adaptability as the number one skill that should be embraced post pandemic. Next slide, please. And it makes perfect sense to me as the pandemic, in my view, has brought to the fore several talent acquisition specific shortfalls. And this data that you see here is from a study conducted by IBM and Nelson Hall this year. And you can see some of the data points on the screen. And what the study really highlighted was that the shortfalls are spread across the spectrum, from automation capabilities to the ability to respond to candidate experience requirements. Next slide. And an illustration of these shortfalls in the Indian context is very evident in what we call the post-pandemic offer declines. Now, with a jump in demand for hot talent in IT, offer declines have boomeranged to about 55%, as against an average of about 10 to 12% pre-pandemic. So that's like a huge jump. Now, is is the talent acquisition community ready to meet the challenges that the spike brings about? Do we have the requisite strategies in place? Now, these are some of the questions that we will address in the session today. Could you please move on to the next slide? So again, just a high level view of what we will cover today. Reasons for the spike, as I mentioned, and the role of technology and automation in helping stem this trend, as well as a few observations or recruitment specific trends that we believe are here to stay, after the pandemic is done and over with. So a very interesting set of questions and a lot of information that's going to come our way. But before we get into the questions, let us get to meet our panelists. um, I would like to begin with Savita Hortikar, who heads the
Hi.
recruitment function for Thoughtworks in India. Welcome, Savita. uh,
Thank you, Prasanna. Thanks for
now let
inviting
me
me here, and good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome again. Now, let me give you a brief intro to Savita. Now, with over 19 years of experience in talent acquisition, Savita specializes in recruiting for engineering teams in product development companies and in IT consulting. Her experience spans across hiring for senior leadership, senior tech, university hiring, diversity and inclusivity hiring, as well as recruitment specific operations and systems. Would you like to say a few words, Savita, before we kick the session off?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Prasanna, and thank you, People Matters, for inviting me to this webinar. It's wonderful to get this opportunity to talk and share my thoughts and views, because this particular topic is very close to the heart of all the professionals in the TA space today.
Yes.
Because we all are facing the brunt of our declines, and this is a good opportunity to share our views and exchange our ideas and learn from each other. So very happy to be here, and thanks again.
Thanks, Savita. Our next panelist is Satish Rajarathnam, Senior VP and Global Head of Strategic Outsourcing at Mphasis. Hi, Satish. Welcome to the session.
Hey Prasanna, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. Um, well, more than
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're going to share our perspectives, like what Savita said, we would like to hear from you as well in terms of how do we kind of enhance our retention ratio rather than the decline ratio.
Welcome, and it's going to be an interesting session, I'm sure. But let me quickly give a bit more about Satish and where he comes from. With about 22 years of experience, Satish is a seasoned human resource professional who has held several HR leadership positions across multiple industries. Satish has continually been at the helm of strategic resourcing, organization change management, HR business consulting, and agile transformation. He is also associated with several industry groups like SHRM, Agile Leadership, and Six Sigma. Now, outside his experience with HR, Satish is also a well known TEDx speaker. So, welcome once again, Satish. Now, let's move on to the third panelist we have with us today. His name is Arun Satyan. Hi, Arun. And just a bit about Arun's background. Arun is the co founder and CEO of Hyreo, a candidate experience platform. He brings in over 15 years of experience in IT and is a HR technology enthusiast. Welcome once again, Arun, and welcome once again to all three panelists. With the introductions done, let's move to the discussion. Now, the first question I have is focused on the topic. It's on offer declines. Now, is the spike in offer declines a significant part of the experience post pandemic from the point of view of talent acquisition? And if yes, what do you think are the reasons for this trend? I would like to direct the question to Savita first, if I may. Savita?
Yeah, yeah, thanks. That's an interesting question. Yeah, definitely there is a spike in offer declines, and the reasons are many. It's a simple question of demand and supply. So what happened during the COVID was all the organizations were very conservative in their
Hmm.
hiring. They did not know what to do. They were taken by surprise, and it was something what nobody had predicted or expected, that the whole world will come to a standstill. And
Hmm.
because of that, out of panic, and sometimes because people did not know what to make out of this pandemic, people
Hmm.
put a stop to their hiring and their expansion plans. And there was the whole TA space became very conservative in terms of hiring. And then when slowly, when things began to improve, and when people got hold of the situation, when there was a vaccine coming out, and we realized that there will be an end to this COVID pandemic, and the market started, reviving itself, and the economy started booming. At least in India, to a certain extent, at least in the IT space, I should say. I want to be very careful of what I say here, because not all the parts of economy has really, hasn't picked up
Sprung
like
back.
the IT space. Yeah, but IT definitely has. There has been much optimism in that there, and there has been a sudden influx of optimism. And it's always, the studies have also shown that every time there is a major change, or a pandemic, or like something like a great depression that happened in 1930s in the US, soon after that people become very people start taking more risks in business and start doing something new. After a lull, there is always there is a revival. And I think I think it's that's because of that people have again began hiring. And once they have started hiring, suddenly there's an increase in the jobs everywhere, especially in the 1.5 2 years to 10 years category. In the IT space, this has seen a great revival. And then again, it is just demand versus supply problem that has crept up, and that's leading to people having more jobs at hand. And people have the bargaining power now. It is a buyer's market, and hence there is an increase in the offer declines. And also, if you look at the startup ecosystem, there is a big revival there as well. Every week you hear about some startup or the other getting funding, A series and B series and so on and so forth. And there's so much money in the system right now, and everybody, the moment they get a funding, people want to hire and expand and grow big. There's a buoyancy in the market, and because of that, the demand for IT professionals, or especially in that I said, like the 2+ to 10-year category, has really risen. And that is one of the major reasons why there is this. I think there is a increase in the offer declines.
So are you experiencing this within your organization too? I was talking to
Yeah.
you, I was kind of putting an average there about 55%. Is what you're experiencing kind of close to that?
No, 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 no. We fortunately are not, experiencing 55%.
Mhm.
We are somewhere around 20 to 25, I should say. But there are certain skills and certain years of experience, right? If you average it out, it doesn't look too bad. But then if you slice and dice the data and look at the place where you have the engineering crowd, or where you have people with certain very sought after skills like full stack development and DevOps and data space and machine learning, engineer and data sciences. Those are some of the areas where you see more demand coming up, and you will see that the declines is higher in those space. Even front end developers, those are some of the categories that you see. But then there are other jobs where you don't have so much of a decline as well. So the average may look like, not too bad as of now. But we do see a trend, and earlier, we have to keep a backup for every candidate, especially in the tech space, whoever you're hiring.
Mm.
We have to have at least one or two backups ready. The pipeline has to be always full of candidates. You can never say that the requisition is full, and it is completed, and we have completed our hiring. Moreover, the whole having 2 and 3 months notice period, which is a trend in India, is also contributing, because people have a
Mm.
lot of time on their hand, and
Yeah.
even if they do not want to look for another alternative and have multiple job offers, there is a lot of peer pressure and pressure from families and people, telling them to go and look for more jobs and better jobs, somebody who pays you more. I think so. People in general have become very panicky, and they want to go and get the best offer. without looking. Sometimes I just feel people are not even looking at the long-term benefits or thinking long-term. There's a lot of short-sightedness when it comes to people's career aspirations these days. And everyone just wants to make hay while the sun shines. So they just want more money, and better perks and better benefits without looking into what is the learning associated with it, what are the long-term opportunities, what are they going to get out of their career. People are just thinking the candidate market, especially in the IT sector, like as if there is no tomorrow at all, right? So you are just going around getting the best offer. So all that has contributed to the increase in the offer declines, in my view.
So would I be right in saying that, the discussion has kind of petered down to a compensation
Yes.
and benefits kind of a war?
Yeah, in
Okay.
most of the cases, yes. And of course, people are demanding more flexibility, work-life balance. But again, like I said, it's a supply-demand problem. So people are willing to give you better working conditions and better benefits. So people are bargaining more than what they used to do before and not settling down for anything less. They want to have a work-life balance. They want to put priorities of life first, and then they want to think about work, because they are in that in the upper. They have an upper hand right now. It's a candidate. It's a buyer's market.
I get you. So it's like, as you said, make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is.
I
It
get
is.
you.
It is that right now.
So, Satish, what has your experience been? Satish?
You're on mute, Satish, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Satish,
yeah,
you're on
yeah.
mute. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pick from where Savita had left. Right? Let's take a step back.
Mm-hmm,
Now, the reason of I would say the uncertainty or decline is also due to the 3 to 4x of demand that shot off. Right.
mm-hmm,
Most part of last year, most SI firms, I mean, in our case, most of our competition, we were a little lull in terms of the demand hitting them hard, right? However, if you look at it, I think from January, I would say even till now, or even the demand is still still good for next quarters as well. Right? If you look at it, there is a significant shift. Right? Let's take 1x as a baseline for last year. From January, we moved up to about 3 to 4x, right? And likewise, if you name a SI firm, if you name a product firm, startups like what Savita spoke about, any of these e-commerce players and so on and so forth, everywhere there's been a boom, right, in terms of
mm,
demand coming. The market have opened
mm.
up, right? The customers have
Yeah.
opened up, and hence the budgets as well, right? The CIOs have opened up as well, their process. So the demand has shifted drastically. Now, at most of the companies were running at a pace in terms of this is my growth trajectory, this is my forecast of skill, this is my forecast of workforce, this is my forecast of work in itself, and the revenue trajectory, and so on and so forth. But suddenly, there's a spin, right? And you get to see if it's 2x, we could still scamper through and step up. But 3 to 4x is an overkill, right? In the industry that we are in right now, specifically, again, let me restrict to the IT space in the typical SI industries that we operate out of, right? So what has happened? To pick from where again Savita left, the what we call as in recruitment the in-process dropout, right? By the time you interview on a weekend, call someone, do a virtual drive, and then by Monday you go on to a conversation saying, look, you're good. We're gonna put you on to a customer. Or we're gonna put you on to a tech manager for the next round before we roll out the offer. The in-process dropout has risen significantly, which is never to be the case at all, right? So most of these candidates are there most of the time picking up interviews. Then the old school of thought is they pick up 2 3 offers, then they finalize. But now it's just in-process dropouts, right? By the time you talk Saturday morning to a candidate, the same guy attends another interview Saturday evening, and there you go. The bargaining power increases significantly as well. One, right? Second, what's also happening is your pipeline utilization. Right? Again, from a recruitment standpoint, how do you use your database that you have in your ATS, right? How do you use that? And let's say if you have so many screen selects, how do you move them into tech? How do you move them into HR and so on and so forth, right? Your pipeline utilization also gets much more meteor because by the time you shortlist someone and say I'm going to offer, you miss out on people as well, right? By the time they come and say, look, I already have an offer, and then I'm going to drop out, or they won't even lift the call, right? Then comes the offer acceptance. You roll out offer, you got all these, you do 3 out of 4 out of 10 and kind of push them through. Then you have the offer acceptance, right? That is also significantly different. I'm not even getting into the genres yet, right? Your offer acceptance, which used to be at about 85-90% in most cases, has also significantly dropped, right? By about 10-15% or so. It's on average, if I were to put it across its high, it's about 70% or so, right? So net, if you look at the outcome or the output, your interview to offer to joiner ratio has impacted significantly, right? Where we used to do about 6:1 or 5:1, we're now doing 10:1 to about 14:1, right? That means that the effort of recruiters has gone up significantly. The efficiency is just because of the bargaining power that Savita spoke about, right? Everybody comes in with multiple offers and so on and so forth. Specifically, in the top 5-6 competencies, one is about digital technologies that you're talking about, and which would encompass everything around full stack engineers, digital engineers. You have the data, big data guys. You have the agile, the scrum masters, and so on and so forth. Your DevOps. You talk about the cloud technologies, or you talk about AWS, Azure, GCPs, Pivotal, and so on and so forth. These are hot skills right now because everybody is moving into cloud. Everybody is moving into digital transformational journey, if I want to put it, right? Considering all of these, the demand is 3.5x, and the skills that most of SI firms, platform firms are also targeting are also very, very minimal, right? And hence, candidates are being very, very choosy. Again, the fulcrum there is the levers that they use is, look, I don't want to go to my native, right? You offer me the money that I'm asking you for. That could be one, definitely as leverage. But the the uh, the the other levers are, I don't want to move into another city again, right? I'm happy being where I am right now. You commit about 6 months, 1 year work from home. I'm willing to take your offer. One. Second, most importantly, you commit on my career progression. Look, I can't forever keep doing core Java. Like if you commit that, hey, you can move me into a quarter, half stack, or full stack over a period of time. What is your practice capability, right? Incumbents are now being very, very choosy about what's going to be my growth. Will I be relevant if I take this offer? Does this company has a practice area which is fairly strong, so that I can grow my competency as well, right? That's another piece as well. So it is about everything. It's not just about if you want to put it the Maslow's, but it's beyond that as well. It's a convenience. It's about, am I getting paid for what I'm going to do from where I am going to work and to the aspiration that I wanted to do. So it's all the four linked together. I think that drives the acceptability of a candidate into an offer, right? So money, yes, I agree. That is one significant part because it just became a raging war out there. The highest bidder wins. Let me put it that way. And quote unquote, you get to see. It's the great era of resignation that everybody talks about it. If I were to put it, 2 lakh jobs there about plus, right? Full year 22, which is unprecedented, 50% higher than what at least I've seen in the past decade or so in terms of spike in demand. So that's hitting us fairly hard. How often we've seen most of the companies saying, look, I have a retention budget. How often you've seen companies coming out in public and saying they put together retention budgets to kind of retain candidates, right? It is what it is. And in spite of all these, recruiters like us, we go to the market, we offer someone at a 40-50% of what they're getting right now. We still don't get that, right? So again, on top of it, you get another 10%, 15% by competition because they all, end of the day, it is all about getting the customer programs running without any drop. So everybody wants to be the bidder. But in my view, this may not continue the way that it is, right? It's spiked. It's at a peak right now. It is going to taper down, right? Come December, January, when the CIO's budget sessions are going to happen every year. Beginning, I mean, you will get to see some changes coming in. The costs have skyrocketed, and they will try to see how we can cut corners. It would come down. In my view, another couple of quarters, this should get normalized from offer to decline to a comp. Where you work.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. But just a quick question around that from both to Savita and you. So, who are your biggest competitors in? I mean, is it the startups that are the ones that are stirring the pot, or are you having the same issue with organizations that are of that are more larger, global, more established? Any one of you?
Um, At least for us, it's been a fair mix of everything, Prasanna. It's not just the
Okay.
startups. I mean, yeah, certain small percentage, yes, but then the scale ups, the GICs, the SIs,
Hmm.
it's a fair mix of there, because the digital transformation skills, what Satish mentioned, right? Those are in
Hmm.
demand everywhere.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's a mix of all. It's not fun, and even the product engineering companies, which people
I
have been
get
here for a longer time, large companies.
get you. What about you, Satish? What would your response be to this?
Well, if you want to put some data to add on to what Savita alluded to,
Uh-huh.
right? Enterprises are going through 40-50% decline ratio. But in contrary, GICs and product firms are at a much higher level of decline ratio, right? It's about 55 to
Yeah.
Mm,
60%,
mm,
in spite of putting in a lot of money out there. But again, like I said, people want to be much more fungible, and they want to be agile in terms of expanding that domain and competency. Right? They don't want to get stuck with one product or one platform forever. So they're also
mm.
trying to build out accordingly. And if you look at startups in e-commerce, there it's much more. It's about 50-55% in the data that we've kind of put in. So by far, SI is doing much better than GICs or products or startups for e-commerce at this point in time. But yeah, it is what it is, right? It is about um, at my comfort, matching my aspiration and adequately compensated, the pace at which I wanted to work with. I guess these are four pillars that most of the incumbents are looking out for right now to pick up a company. Having said that, brand has now become secondary, quote unquote. I'm just leaving that apart for a later discussion. So.
Hear you. Now, coming to you, Arun. I mean, you've heard. You sit, in a slightly different plane, right? Like as a provider of services, around focused on helping reduce the decline. So, in that context, now we just heard both Savita and Satish talk about, pipeline utilization, talk about in-process dropout, talk about, the conversation somehow petering down now to a compensation war, all of these things. And I was just reading through some of the questions that folks are putting up on chat. It's all about, hey, the declines are last minute. What do we do to convince interns to give us a specific joining date and stick to it and the like, right? So what is your observation in this context? What has your experience been specific
Right.
to offer decline?
Yeah, I think Savita and Satish covered the problem in a lot of detail. I think
Yeah,
I'll not get into that demand side of it. I think very well
yeah,
articulated. We have enough numbers and specifics that came out. But I think one point that I would kind of add to that, and this is based on some of the customer surveys that we did and some of the customers that we are working with as well, more of a generic perspective on that. So first thing is, there is demand, and the demand has been on a virtual mode. So you're not just getting one problem, you're getting two problems at the same time. So I would really talk about how many organizations were really prepared for this onslaught in a newly changed format. And if you take any transformation in that sense, if you take people, process, and technology, right? If you kind of cut it across, you take people first, talent acquisition experts. This is where it has fundamentally, impacted the most. Now, we did a survey somewhere mid of this year, 2021, and we found that only 15% of the surveyed companies, which includes GICs, system integrators, mid-level companies, large IT services companies, only 15% of them had increased recruiter count by then. In the sense, the time they took to find real talent for the recruiter community itself was tough. So you can imagine what the recruiting teams should have essentially gone through, and also to look at, did they have enough sort of upskilling in terms of how to survive in the new model, because some of the tools they would have probably used to convince candidates of the story that they're trying to say probably cannot be applied now anymore, right? And this is basically the process side that I was talking about. um, 85% of recruiters said that they are taking more effort to get candidates to join in for interviews in a new world that it used to be earlier on. Part of what Satish said in terms of process dropout, it could be other reasons, but a lot of that has changed, and those process tweaking, we didn't have enough time probably to kind of manage that. And in terms of technology also, we kind of um, probably lived through this phase with, if I may, for lack of better words, the kind of same legacy tools, which probably would have impacted, and that would have led to recruiters basically taking the compensation or benefits tool as the only available tool to basically do it, and that's where probably you would have lost out on this. And in this sense, as bandwidth was as sort of constricted or limited, how do we still take care of candidates and engage them and be available for them and sort of do that physical world hiring that we used to do? Those are, I think, some of the shortcomings that I see many of our customers saw in the in the larger context of things.
I hear you. Okay. Now, so it's basically, if I may summarize what I took away from what you shared is, it's like old wine it's still in an old bottle, or rather new wine in an old bottle, and we really have to look at different ways in which you can engage with the candidates that are now demanding an experience, or very akin to customer experience. Is that okay, it aligns with what you're saying. Wonderful. So what I'm going to do is now let's move to an audience poll, because I really want to hear what those on the call, the audience on the call, have to say about what we were just discussing. And basically, I'm sure a lot of you resonate with experiences that Savita and Satish and Arun shared. So I now have a question for you. Can we get the question up, please? Uh, Someone from the People Matters team, can you just go to the activity, the audience poll?
Yeah, I think Prasanna, it's on the screen now.
Yeah, but it's not the poll. I mean, I'll go through the poll, but it's not the poll. I was hoping that we could go and look at the activity poll, but I'm sure that the audience can use the link that is mentioned on the screen and then go to the poll. Now, the question that I have is basically around the reasons for offer declines, the reasons that you've come across for offer declines in the past few months. So can you indicate the top reasons that you have been provided? Is it slow and disorganized hiring process? I think Satish kind of alluded to it. Compensation, we discussed that. Role definition, lack of flexible hours, brand image, or low human interaction during the hiring process, or maybe it's something over and above these options. So please go to the activity poll and please indicate your experience. I would request you to just pick the topmost reason that you have come across in the last few months. I'm just going to give a minute or two for the audience to go ahead with the poll. The People Matters team, please kind of keep tabs and capture the response. Thank you. So we'll just give them a breather for about a minute. I'm keen to find out, what everyone has to say. And we will be looking at the poll results towards the end of this session. And while you're answering your questions, I just wanted to give a shout out to those that are posting your questions on chat. We are looking at the questions, and there is a Ask the Expert session where we will be, dealing with some of your questions. So please hang in there. Now, I hope all of you have had a chance to answer the poll question. In the interest of time, I'm now going to move on to the second question that I have. And the next question that I have, along the lines of the discussion we had on offer declines, is around the role of technology in the solutioning strategy. Now, what is the role that you see of technology and automation in the solutioning that you're using to tackle the offer declines? Now, how important is technology in your overall strategy? And what I'm hoping for, Savita, Satish, and Arun, is if you could share some examples with us, some of your, some of the lessons from your talent watches, that will be wonderful. So, Satish, would you like to take on this one to begin with?
Sure. I mean, um, it's a little tricky, right? I mean, it is about, if you want to put it, how do you do pre, during, and post engagement, right? Or for want of better words, I'm just
Yes.
classifying the three different segments. Now, you might use a tool, or like what Arun said, gone are the era where we get the pulse right in front of an interviewee sitting there and think like, there's an 80% chance that he or she would join. Right? That gauging mechanism is gone for the task, right? So we have to use tools, methodologies to see how well we engage potential candidates, right? Now, it could be pre-interviews in the sense, how do you keep him or her warm, saying, by the time your recruiter picks up and does a screening and say, look, closest match, near fit, far fit, whatever, fit or not, you still go ahead and kind of put them onto interview on a lighter side. So how do you engage that candidate for a while, right? That's very, very critical. I guess that is where you have the high touch that I would put it. From a high tech perspective, is from the interview process standpoint till the offer and joining stages is what we want to use high tech perspective, right? So your interview process is all through what we do is all through mobile. It's very user friendly. Even for an interviewer, it is all speech to text conversion. You don't have to keep typing long feedback and sentences and so on and so forth, right? Apart from your NCQ in terms of choosing the rating part, the feedback for every competency or at a skill level when he or she gives back, it is all very, very intuitive. And that's something that we built up and which is working wonders. It's cut short. Let's say if an interview is for an hour, if you're going to do a typical digital engineer interview, it used to be an hour and then 15, 20 minutes of interview sitting and typing till taking another candidate during the weekend. But that is now significantly reduced, right? 40 minutes, 45 minutes, you do some deep interview if it's a tech deep interview. And another 15 minutes or max 5, 6 minutes, he just does a speech to text and your feedback is also done easily. And that gives another 5, 10 minutes breather for the interviewer before he picks up another candidate. So during interview, post interview is where you engage the candidate pretty much, right? You talk about what does your organization do in terms of domain tech and the T-shaping part of it. You talk about that. You keep sending out tidbits about what is your tech stack, what do you bring in from a career transformation standpoint, what do you bring in from a skill enhancement standpoint, right? And what kind of programs that you will be involved in while working. What is our EVP DNA? You can come in, you can bring in your expertise, ideation, and so on and so forth. How empowered that you would be. What is, if you want to put it, what is your owner's mindset type? You bring in, you change the way your Scrum team works, right? All of these. This is post offer. So there are three different stages I want to split it. One is definitely high touch until you kind of, for want of better words, again, sell the position and the role to the candidate. From there on, tech is involved at various levels context. I think that's how we need to look at it. So the during and the after offer engagement is very, very critical. So which is a pre, mid, and the post engagement. You have multiple tools that's coming in. You send tidbits, you send some, even video JDs we did try out for a while in terms of selling the proposition. But today's candidates, they don't have time to even go through the JDs, right? They just want to say Java, oh, no, I know Java. So it all depends on what do you qualify as tool and how do you use the tool, because not for the sake of using it, we don't want to put something here and say, look, let's use a tool to kind of do it. Doesn't work that way. Most often it's about high touch and how do you kind of give them the career, the aspiration that they wanted to with the company.
I get you. What about you, Savita? What is your experience been?
Let me unmute myself. So, all right. So, my experience, okay, huge plus one to all what Satish said. I think they're very valid points and we do need to look at. But for me, technology plays a very important role in this whole hiring process. And technology is an enabler, it cannot replace human beings. I just think in today's competitive world, the candidate experience should be the centerpiece of your recruitment. Whether you're hiring in a startup, GIC, SI, doesn't mind. It doesn't matter whether high volumes, low volumes, or whatever. So how do you do that? That is done only by converting your recruiters from a paper pusher to a talent advisor, which means that you use technology at every stage, whether it's at your sourcing, or you're doing your pre-screening or talking to candidates, scheduling your candidates, bringing them into the process, making the process easy for the panelists to do the interviews, collect the feedback. The entire process, wherever it is possible, we need to break it down and automate all the low end tasks, so that the recruiters have enough time to engage with the candidates, because engagement plays a very important role in stemming offer declines. And at many times, because of having a good rapport with the candidates and building this relationship with them, even if candidates want to decline, they'll at least let you know in advance. They don't, it won't happen that they don't show up the day they join. So they'll give you
Yeah.
enough warning. So, or sometimes people also give references of their friends who are looking at. So it pays to have this engagement. And we should also look at it from a long term perspective. Like, when you have a good engaged candidate, even if the person doesn't join you today, maybe another year down the road, the person wants to look for a change, they'll come back to you because of the relationship what you have built with them. So that human touch and experience matters a lot. So at least in my organization, what we did is that we broke the entire cycle of recruitment, right from the employer branding to the offers to onboarding, and looked at what are the places where we can use technology, and what is affordable, of course, depending on your budget and depending on what you think is important. The organizations can invest in that, and give sufficient time and bandwidth to the recruiters to give candidates a good experience. And we believe very strongly at Thoughtworks that a candidate must be they should feel valued when they come in. So our entire selection process, we call it the joy of interviewing, because every time we say interviews, people get worried, right? If it's whether it's the panelist or the candidate, you only think of stress when you think of interview. We want to do away with it. We want to give them a good experience and say that irrespective of the outcome, or irrespective of whether the candidate joins you or does not join you, they have to go in feeling valued and respected, because they
Yeah.
are the ambassadors for your company, for your organization, and they'll go talk to another 100 people, to their network, and maybe after some time come back to us. So yes, automation, not using technology at every step is very important. And yeah, enabling your recruiters from being paper pushers and to become talent advisors is also equally important. We can talk a little more about it later, but yes, those all
The
things
candidate
definitely matters.
experience is key.
Candidate
Yes.
experience should be the centerpiece of your hiring. It should not be how many yeah, of course, how many people you bring on board is important. It's a very important metrics for us. We have to keep that in mind. But then the way in which you design your entire process should be around candidate experience, and that will go a long way in helping. And technology is definitely an enabler, and it will help you.
I hear you. Thank you so much, Savita. And Arun, do you have any stories, that you can share around this, this topic?
Yeah, I'll probably talk about this candidate experience, and I think both panelists kind of talked about the way we are engaging with candidates. I think what what we're seeing today is that the demand has really made candidate the decision maker. So the way I'll put it is, the way you look at a customer, look at your candidate. If you're investing in customer relationship, invest in candidate relationship. Now, how could we make it, and more importantly, in the post offer, and that's where we are talking about today, right? A few examples that I could talk about. Now, one of the areas where engagement really matters is you got to be constantly trying to stay connected with the candidates. Now, a challenge when we do it with human-led processes, there is a limit to the bandwidth that you have. But use technology to create additional bandwidth. For example, some of the areas that we work with, we've tried to increase the actual candidate touch points in an automated fashion by close to around 300%. We have been able to increase feedback collection, NPS. It's a very simple process. You don't need human involvement in that. 2x improvement on that. And then look at all those activities which are less strategic wherever it can be automated. Savita spoke about that. Pushing content, answering FAQs, policy-related information, onboarding-related questions. Now, when we look at some of the largest customers that we work, the broadly the post offer declines fall into like 12 categories. If I take compensation and benefits out of it, the whole lot of it is related to date of joining change, questions on BGB process, questions on what to do on the onboarding day. I'm not clear on the work from home aspect of it. Now, how do you tackle this? Now, technology
Mm.
can bring that scale and consistency for any thousand odd candidates in a very very effective manner. That's one thing. The other thing that we found very interesting is how do we retarget declined candidates? Now, we had a very large customer who were talking about a few thousand offers a month, and we ran a campaign with those declined candidates, and we got close to around 12% candidates who were willing to reconsider the offer within 30 days, and close to around another 20% candidates who said they are willing to reconsider in the next 3 months. So, as we are going through this compensation led and this very frantic sort of a hiring model, it makes sense to go back and look at those candidates. In today's
Yeah.
non-technology driven model, that becomes a bit of a challenge. So I think there are different ways in which technology can augment the process. Fundamentally, it's a people-driven model, but end of the day, the way it is done on the ground, technology can always augment humans.
I hear you. Now, let's quickly move on to the audience point of view on the same question. So, if we can put up the audience poll, uh, what we have there. Yeah, I just wanted folks from the People Matters team to kind of move on to the audience poll, please. And what we have in terms of the audience poll are a set of areas, okay, by which technology and automation can help in reducing of a decline. So what we want you to do is select all the areas that you believe, will, where technology can help. And you can definitely, in this particular case, select more than one option. So if you can please do that. Are these radio buttons, uh, Manish? Because I mean, if it is, then even if the team can select the most, what do you call it, the most important area as far as your experience goes, that also will work. So I'm just going to give the audience members just about a minute to go ahead and put in their answers, and we will share the results, towards the end of the session. Okay. And I know that we just have about 15 minutes to go. So it's been a very interesting discussion, a lot of points. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to skip on the third question we had about trends and go directly to the audience part of the exercise, because we really want the audience to, get to talk with all of you and get as much input from you. So, I'm going to go ahead, into our Ask the Expert session. I've picked up a few questions. I'm just looking at the questions here. So the first question that I have is an interesting one. It's about how do you define your current state of preparedness on new technologies, and aligned with it, there is another question where the person it's Satyan. He's from the automotive engineering domain, and he's basically saying that how do we work on talent mapping to understand the industry trend? I have a feeling that our remuneration could be lower than what the industry is offering. So how do I use technology to kind of overcome this hump? Or is it a combination of technology and process? So I'm just going to open it up to any one of the panelists just to recap the question. How do you define your current state of preparedness on new technologies? Either
Um,
Savita or Satish. Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that one. On the new technology piece, yeah, we are at least from my organization perspective, we are quite on top of that.
Mhm.
So automation and bringing in new tools and techniques for all the different cycles or the different parts of the recruitment process has been one of our topmost priorities for the last 4 to 5 years. And yes, we are quite well prepared, but then we make sure that we keep budgets ready and every year, and ensure that we trial out various platforms that come in the market. We also globally also we have a systems team in place that helps that builds in some tools. We don't have to always buy it from out. We also build our own tools that are required. So that has been a focus, at least for us, for quite some time. But yes, but we always need more than what we budget, so it's never enough. But yes, but we are quite well prepared, and especially in the areas which where it hurts the most. For example, sourcing was something what we wanted to get more tools in, so that the recruiters get time to spend more with the candidates. Scheduling was another place which was eating a lot of time and bandwidth, so we looked at that as well. And then also in rediscovery of old candidates, we are using certain tools to look at the candidates who are already lying, because their own ATS is a rich source of candidates, right? I mean, any company which has a good ATS, applicant tracking system, will have thousands of CVs, and it's better than any job portal. So you will have, how do you mine and bring candidates back into the process? So those are the areas where we have done a lot of investment in.
I
Yeah.
hear you. Satish, anything you want to add?
Well, in fact, we're trying to see how we can utilize our existing tools in the first place, right? With the maddening volume that's hitting in, all of the recruiters running around, and like what Savita said, right from the scheduling, right from doing a JD match to parsing to sourcing to scheduling to offer rollout. How do you minimize the cycle time from about 4 or 5 days to about 1 day, maybe, right? With all the interviews also happening across days. So yeah, having said that, tools are a must in my view. We put in a bot together, an algorithm that picks up and tries to resolve. Arun spoke about candidate experience. How do we kind of extend it? We've been doing consistently well from a CE perspective. That gets to show that the current tools are working. But yes, what got us here may not get us for the next couple of quarters or so. So we're trying to see, how do we be much more nimble, agile, based on candidates churn that's happening around the way they look at, like I said, we tried audios, JDs, video JDs. I mean, we just keep experimenting with a lot of stuff. But what makes sense to the candidate is something that we need to figure out, and what hits them at the right time is something we need to figure out, which is the journey that we're going through. But barring that, quickly to sum it up, like what Arun said, every aspect of it, right from parsing to sourcing to scheduling to offer rollout, speech to text, getting them onto our Oracle cloud in terms of the entire BG process and onboarding. Everything is streamlined at one go. It's just one single API that works well for us. But yeah, there are ways to go. We're trying to see how we can get that focus back again. Yeah.
Get you. So, Arun, as somebody who's a technology provider, have you experienced a situation where your clients are using existing technology and it's frankly not aligned with what they need to do and therefore need a rehaul?
Right. See, wherever we've worked and wherever we've seen our competitors working on, let's say, candidate experience or talent marketing sort of areas, most likely the tools will be aimed at augmenting the existing platform. It doesn't necessarily replace an existing system, because that's a very expensive change management to go through. But essentially, tools like Hyreo, for example, what it tries to do is it brings in certain additional capabilities that your current systems may not have, like trying to keep up with the Gen Zs and Gen Ys, and the kind of communication that they are used to, the nimbleness in terms of being able to get back to them with responses, trying to get the attention of the recruiter who's probably have a pile of issues on their head, trying to manage this data more efficiently in terms of very, very fragmented information on where drops are happening, where candidates are not, feeling great. What are those top reasons that could be eliminated? So segmenting that data and making it, actionable in very simple terms. So I think most of these organizations would continue to use their mainstay HCMs in that sense, but systems that are aimed at candidate experience, for example, or offer a post-offer management, that will, sort of improve performance in certain areas, helping the recruiting teams.
Hear you. Now, there's another question that's come up, and again, that's an interesting one. So the question reads, as talent leads, what kind of ground up transition do you see in skills that talent acquisition practitioners need today? Should you be hiring sales folks with a sales background to be into talent acquisition? So that's the question. So who wants to take it up?
Well, I'll add to the lighter part of it. I'll let Savita get into the functionality part of it. Savita, that's okay
Okay.
with you. Um, Look, it's not just sales anymore. It is about, like what we call as a full stack engineer. You have to be a full stack recruiter, right? You need to know what revenue that you're going to bring into the table, at what cost, and what margins you can bring into the table, and what is your time to build versus the near fit, far fit, which will fetch this candidate, and yeah, he or she would comfortably clear the customer interview, and hence I would want to bring this. So it is about, in HR parlance we keep talking about solution mindset and result orientation and other stuff. I guess we need to bring in, except apart from the technical aspect, a recruiter should be able to gauge all of these aspects as well before getting someone closer to the customer's door, or getting into the organization, right? I mean, it's not becoming full stack recruiter. When I say that, it's not about sourcing to offer to onboarding, but I'm saying even in recruitment, how do you sell the job, career, skill, aspiration, and everything out to the incumbent?
Hear you. Savita?
Yeah. So recruiting has always been like a sales job. I always used to wonder, why is recruiting under HR? It should be under sales, or sit under business for better impact.
Yes.
But yeah, that's on a lighter note. But yes, I agree with what Satish has said. It's a full stack recruiter is the need of the hour. And while we do not, I mean, I don't know, just hiring salespeople may not help, because it's not just about numbers, it's about quality, it's about, but a lot of the techniques what you use in sales applies to recruiting as
To
well.
recruit.
Like how you keep your pipeline always full, how do you gauge the demand, how do you know what the market is doing, get insights from the markets. All that is there, so it's pretty similar to sales, but so we can use a lot of techniques what is taught in the for people who are in sales to the recruiters as well. But yeah, customer experience, candidate experience should be given more importance than what it is right now. And technology, like I said, should be used to enable as much as possible and automate the processes wherever the companies can. And we should no longer look at recruiters as paper pushers or postman activity of sending resumes and from one inbox to another inbox. That mindset has to go. So what happens is, these days, you look out in the learning space. You have colleges and degrees and and exams for almost every kind of in every domain, right? Whether you want to be a digital marketer, or you want to be a salesman, or you want to get into any line. But for recruiters, unfortunately, there is no proper learning, or there is no college or university that offers a course in recruiting, right? It's people just do so you see people coming from different backgrounds and learning on the job. So maybe a little bit method to the madness is required there, in terms of training people and bringing in the people with the right mindset
Hear you.
to do recruiting.
Yeah.
And there should be a balance between how you get in your numbers and good talent and good quality people into the company as well.
Got you. So at this point, then let's do a quick check on the activity poll. If the People Matters team can just share the results of the poll, I think we can, close with that. So if I can't see it very clearly on my screen, so if somebody can read that out for me, please. 70% say what?
Compensation, Prasanna.
Compensation.
Oh, okay. And what's and a close second is the slowness, right, of the process. So that's
Yeah.
that's food for thought for us. What about the second question?
Oh.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty interesting. So we will share this data out with everybody that's on the call today, so that it's data that may help you as you go forward. And now I know we just have about a minute to go, so I have a very quick call to action. that I want everybody to look at. So if we could please go to the link, the People Matters team, and just share that with everybody on the call. It's a very, very simple form. So at Hyreo, our focus is in putting, as Arun said, the candidates in the center of the recruiting universe. And turning recruiters into talent relationship champions. So what we have here is, a couple of requests for you. The first one is to just go on to this link that is shared on your chat and indicate to us your interest for a one-on-one session with a Hyreo expert. If you want a deep dive on, the various strategies that are possible, that are tech-centric, please let us know. Now, the second message is a call from our end to evangelize the cause of for candidate experiences. So, what we want to do is invite all of you to join this journey as collaborators and as candidate experience advocates. So, again, please go onto the link and just respond to the 2 or 3 questions we have there, and we are really looking forward to hearing from you on both of these call of action items. And with that, I would like to conclude the session. Thank you very much, Savita and Satish and Arun. You've been wonderful panelists. And thank you very much to the audience too, because we've had some really interesting questions, coming our way. Thank you once again. And with that, I'll hand over the call to the People Matters team.
Thank you so much, Prasanna. That was a great session. Thanks, Arun, Savita, and Satish for bringing us this great insights. That's truly the need of our. We are going through the great resignation as which everyone is talking about. So I think candidate experience sits at the center of the entire marketplace. So thanks for sharing those wonderful insights. Thanks, Prasanna, for moderating the entire session. With this, we are going to wrap up today's session. But before we do that, I would like to thank our partner Hyreo and who helped us stitch the entire content and agenda for us. So thank you for that. And with this, we close today's session. It's been a pleasure hosting all of you. Do stay tuned to your inbox for details for this upcoming events and virtual learning sessions. And have a great day and stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.